If you want to know when a marriage starts dying, don't look for the big fights. Look for the silences. The quiet dinners. The "I love yous" that go unanswered. That's how it started with Amanda. I remember the exact moment I noticed it. We were sitting at the dinner table. Just the two of us, as always. The kids were in bed, early, for once, and the house was calm. I made spaghetti, her favorite. Or it used to be. I watched her twirl the noodles around her fork, not even looking up. No, thank you. No smile. Just her phone lighting up beside her plate like it was the only thing worth talking to. I told myself it was work. She was a marketing director, always under pressure, always glued to some campaign deadline or conference call. That night I even joked about it. Said something like, "You know, if I start texting you from across the table, maybe I'll get a reply." She gave a dry chuckle. Not a real laugh. Just enough to make me feel like a fool for trying. I started keeping track of the little things after that. The goodnight kisses became good night. Then just night. Then nothing at all. Her hugs got shorter. Colder. Like she was checking a box. She used to call me during the day just to hear my voice, those stopped too. When I tried calling her, she'd answer with, "What's up?" like I'd interrupted something sacred. At first, I chalked it up to stress. I even told myself I was being paranoid. Marriage has its seasons, right? Maybe we were just in a winter. But there was something in her eyes. Distant. Like she was always somewhere else. Like her body was here but her mind had already packed a suitcase and left the building. I caught her staring at her phone one night in bed, smiling softly at the screen. I didn't say anything. Just turned to the wall and pretended to sleep. That smile, it wasn't for me. I hadn't seen it in months. You start noticing patterns when someone's pulling away. The way she stopped reaching for my hand when we crossed the street. The way she started saying, "I," instead of "we." And that laugh, the real one, the one she used to save for me, I started hearing it from the hallway when she was on her phone, talking to someone from work. She stopped asking about my day. She stopped caring about the little things, whether I'd eaten, whether I was sleeping. Whether I was even there. And you want to believe it's all in your head. That it's a phase. A slump. But eventually, the evidence piles up so high you can't ignore it. One night I came home early. She was on the porch, talking on the phone. Her back was to me, and I heard her say, "I miss talking like this. It feels real." When she turned and saw me, she hung up so fast you'd think I'd caught her stealing. She didn't explain. She didn't have to. That night at dinner, we didn't speak a word. I chewed slowly. She scrolled. And in the silence between us, I realized something terrifying. I was living with a ghost. And maybe I was one too. There's a moment in every unraveling when the silence stops being an inconvenience and starts becoming a message. I used to think silence meant she was tired. Now, I knew better. It meant I didn't matter anymore. I started waking up before her just to hear if she'd say anything in the morning. She didn't. No, "Good morning." No, "Hey." Not even a breath of acknowledgement. She'd walk past me in the kitchen like I was a coat rack. Sometimes her shoulder would brush against mine by accident, and it startled her. Like I wasn't supposed to be there. Like I wasn't real. We used to text throughout the day, silly things, grocery lists, inside jokes. Now my phone stayed dry. No messages. No emojis. No signs that she remembered I existed outside the walls of our house. And when I'd text her just to check in, the replies came in delayed fragments. Busy. Later. Can't talk now. I stopped trying after a while. There's only so many times you can knock on a locked door before you realize nobody's home. But the hardest part? The kids started noticing. My daughter asked one night, "Why doesn't mommy laugh at your jokes anymore?" I didn't know what to say. So I just smiled and told her mommy was tired. A lot of people are tired. That doesn't mean they forget how to see you. Unless they want to. At dinner, she barely ate. She just poked at her plate, phone cradled in her hand like it was something sacred. I tried to bring up weekend plans, and she didn't even look up. "Whatever you want," she mumbled. No eye contact. No curiosity. No warmth. I'd never felt more alone sitting across from someone I used to share everything with. The TV became her escape. She'd put on some show she barely watched, eyes still locked on that glowing screen in her palm. Even in the living room, she'd sit at the far end of the couch, legs tucked under her, a fortress of pillows between us. The kind of distance you can't cross with words. I remember watching her one night, just observing. The flicker of the screen across her face. The occasional smirk at a message. And I wondered, what was she seeing in that phone that she couldn't find in me anymore? That's when it hit me. This wasn't stress. This wasn't a phase. This wasn't winter. It was something colder. She had gone somewhere I couldn't follow. Emotionally, mentally, maybe even spiritually. She was a locked door in a house I built for us. And I was pacing the hallway, waiting for her to open it. But the truth was simple. She had thrown away the key. In my quietest moments, I'd sit on the edge of the bed long after she fell asleep, just listening to her breathe, wondering how you go from being someone's best friend to someone they won't even look at. She didn't even flinch when I didn't kiss her goodnight. She didn't reach for me in her sleep anymore. And when I said, "I love you," one night out of habit, nothing. Not even a nod. That's when I stopped saying it. That's when I started to grieve her while she was still right there. Not gone. Just, gone from me. There are moments that divide a life into, before and after. Mine came at 2:17 a.m., on a Tuesday. That was the moment I looked over at her, sleeping peacefully beside me, and realized I didn't love her anymore, not the version of her that was left. We hadn't spoken all day. Not a word. She came home late, mumbled something about traffic, then drifted off into the usual silence. No kiss. No eye contact. Just the sound of utensils on porcelain during dinner, the hum of the fridge filling every wordless gap between us. The kids were in their rooms. I made sure they brushed their teeth, read them a story, one she used to read before she stopped noticing those small rituals. I tucked them in, kissed them goodnight, and stood by their door longer than usual, just watching them sleep. In their little faces, I still felt love. Still felt like a father. Still felt like a man with purpose. But in the master bedroom, I felt like furniture. She was already under the covers, back turned, phone charging, like always. I stood in the doorway for a long time before I crossed the threshold. Maybe I was hoping she'd turn. Say something. Anything. She didn't. And I realized I didn't need to beg anymore. I got into bed fully clothed. I wasn't planning to sleep. I lay there staring at the ceiling, thinking about the past few months, how I let it all slide. How I made excuses for her silence. For her distance. For her complete emotional disappearance. I thought of how our daughter asked why mommy didn't kiss me anymore. I thought of our son, too young to understand what was missing, but old enough to feel the tension in every room. And then I thought of something terrifying. If I didn't leave, they'd grow up thinking this was love. That silence was normal. That affection was optional. That a man's role was to be invisible unless needed. I turned and looked at her. She was sleeping like a stone. Not a care in the world. Not a single ripple of guilt on her face. Just breathing easy, like she hadn't been absent for months. Like she hadn't already left me without saying a word. And that's when I knew. I wasn't going to wait for her to leave. I was going to go first. I didn't pack much. Just enough to make it look like I hadn't gone far. 2 duffel bags. Some clothes for the kids. Toothbrushes. The folder with our passports and medical info. The external hard drive with all our family photos, every Christmas, every birthday party, every memory that still mattered to me. I moved like a shadow. Slow. Careful. Quiet. I left her phone on the nightstand. I didn't check it. I didn't need to. Whatever connection she had, it wasn't with me. And if I had proof, what would it change? I already knew where I stood, somewhere behind her inbox and beneath her curiosity. I walked into the kids' rooms, one by one. Whispered their names. They were groggy, but when they saw my face, they trusted me. That part broke me a little. Because they didn't even ask why. They just put on their shoes. I loaded them into the car with quiet hands. Buckled them in. Started the engine. One long look at the house before I pulled away. No tears. No rage. Just clarity. If she wanted absence, I'd give her the real thing. Not the pretend version she played with at dinner. Not the hollow man sleeping beside her every night. Real absence. The kind that echoes. The kind that changes everything. The first sound she heard that morning wasn't birds or her alarm. It was silence. Real silence. The kind that follows a storm. Heavy. Still. Too quiet to be normal. She sat up in bed, squinting at the light creeping through the blinds. Reached for her phone, thumbed the screen. No messages. No calls. Odd. She stretched, yawned, looked around, and something felt off. No smell of coffee. No footsteps down the hall. No cartoons from the living room. Just a stillness that didn't fit the rhythm of a house with kids. She pulled the comforter around her and walked into the hallway. The doors to the kids' rooms were cracked open. She checked the first one, empty. The bed was made. She frowned. Then checked the second. Also empty. Too empty. She looked around. No backpacks. No shoes by the door. No jackets on the hooks in the hallway. Her steps got quicker. She checked the kitchen, no coffee brewing, no breakfast mess, no sign of life. Then the living room. Then the laundry room. And finally, the garage. The car was gone. That's when she knew. This wasn't just a quiet morning. They were gone. All of them. The panic didn't hit right away. It came in waves. At first, it was confusion. Maybe I took them somewhere early. Maybe there was an emergency. Maybe, anything but what it really was. She called my phone. It rang once and went to voicemail. Again. And again. Then she tried the kids' phones. Nothing. She stood in the kitchen, barefoot, robe clutched at her chest like it could hold her together. Her eyes were wide, scanning the space like answers would be written on the cabinets. Then she checked the closets. My side was half empty. The drawer where I kept my essentials, bare. Gone. She whispered my name once, as if I might appear from behind a door, arms crossed, ready to scold her for being dramatic. But I didn't come. I wasn't there. And that's when her knees buckled. She sank to the floor and pulled out her phone again. She texted me. Where are you? Nothing. Please call me. Nothing. Are the kids okay? Still nothing. And then came the tears. Real, desperate, helpless tears. She ran to the bedroom, searching through drawers like there might be a note. Some final goodbye. Something to tell her what happened. But I hadn't left her words. She never gave me any. Only silence. Now it was her turn. She scrolled through our messages, rereading old threads. My, good morning, texts. My, need anything from the store, notes. The, love you, I kept sending, even when she stopped replying. Each one landed like a blow. She tried calling again. Blocked. Then she called my sister. Then my best friend. Then even my boss. All of them knew. None of them answered. That day, she cried for hours. She tore through the house, calling my name like it was a spell that could undo everything. But the only answer was the ticking clock on the wall and the echo of her own regret. By sunset, she was curled up in the bed we once shared. Alone. Holding her phone like it was a lifeline. Waiting for a message that wasn't coming. Because now, she finally understood. She hadn't just lost me. She lost the kids. She lost the warmth, the safety, the man who once would have done anything for her. And worse than being left behind. She was left unwarned. Just like how she'd been leaving me for months. One cold shoulder at a time. By the third day, her voice was hoarse. From crying. From yelling into a phone that never picked up. From whispering my name like a prayer to a God who stopped listening. She was unraveling in real time. The house had become a tomb. Every room echoing with what wasn't there. No toys on the floor. No little voices calling for help with homework. No clinking of dishes. No sound of my footsteps in the morning. Just hollow air and the weight of her own choices. She started going through everything. Our old text threads. Photos. Videos. Anything to rewind the clock. To figure out when it had started slipping through her fingers. She reread my messages, the ones she once ignored without a thought. Let's talk tonight. Are we okay? I miss you. She never responded to half of them. And now, her fingers hovered over the same keyboard, sending message after message into a void. Please, just tell me the kids are okay. You don't have to talk to me. Just, let me know where you are. I messed up. I know I did. Please. No response. Not from me. Not from anyone in my circle. Her family called, worried. She lied. Said I was at a work retreat. Said the kids were with my sister. She was trying to hold the pieces together long enough to come up with something better. But the truth was cracking through her voice every time she opened her mouth. And then she found the messages. Her own messages. The ones she thought were private. The ones she sent to him. She scrolled back through them, one by one. Some harmless. Some flirtatious. Some unmistakably intimate. She'd stopped deleting them at some point. Maybe because she didn't think I'd ever leave. Maybe because she thought I'd never see. But now she was seeing. Through my eyes. And it hit her all at once. This was why I left. Not out of spite. Not as a stunt. Not because I didn't love her. But because she'd stopped loving me first. And now, it was her turn to feel that void. Meanwhile, 100 miles away, I was sitting on a worn leather couch, 2 kids beside me, watching old cartoons. I hadn't shaved in 3 days. I looked like hell. But I'd never felt more sane. My daughter leaned against my shoulder. My son was laughing at something absurd on the screen. And for the first time in months, my heart wasn't bracing for impact. There were no accusations. No ice in the room. Just peace. And popcorn. My phone buzzed. Again. I didn't check it. She had texted more than 50 times. I saw the preview of her latest message. I don't even care what you do to me. Just let me hear their voices. I looked at the kids. They were finally smiling again. Sleeping through the night again. They didn't ask about her much. That part stung more than I thought it would. But it also confirmed something. They felt the weight, too. They'd seen the same coldness I had. They knew what I was protecting them from. And so, I let the message sit there. Unanswered. Like all mine had sat on her phone for months. At some point that night, she posted on Facebook. Just a blurry photo of our family from last year. All of us in matching flannel pajamas. Fake smiles. Her caption read. Appreciate what you have before it's gone. No one commented. No one liked it. Just one message under it from her sister. What happened? She didn't reply. Because what could she say? That she'd watched a good man fade in front of her, and never reached out. That she turned her back on warmth and expected it to wait. She curled up that night on my side of the bed. Held my pillow like it could forgive her. It didn't. She showed up in the rain. No warning. No appointment. Just stood there on the porch of the rented house, drenched and trembling like a child in trouble. I saw her through the window first. Her arms crossed, hoodie pulled over her head, hair plastered to her cheeks. She looked like a stranger holding a ghost of the woman I once knew. The kids were upstairs, winding down with a movie. I stood in the hallway, watching her through the glass. She didn't knock. Just stood there, staring at the door. Maybe part of her thought it would open automatically. It didn't. I opened it when I was ready. Didn't say a word. Didn't invite her in. She looked up at me with eyes I hadn't seen in years, eyes that finally knew fear. Not fear of violence or screaming. I never raised my voice to her. Never had to. But this? This was the fear of consequence. Please, she whispered. Her voice cracked. She hadn't even said what she wanted, and it already sounded like a plea. I didn't know what I was doing, she said. I didn't think you'd actually leave. I leaned against the doorframe. Calm. Silent. I thought you were just checked out. Like me, she said. I didn't know how far gone we were until I woke up and you weren't there. My jaw clenched, but I said nothing. I panicked, she continued. You took them. You didn't even say goodbye. I looked at her, dead in the eyes. You stopped saying hello, I said quietly. That shut her up. She took a breath like she was about to say something important. I didn't stop her. I messed up, she finally said. I know that now. I got caught up in things that didn't matter. Work. My phone. That connection I thought I needed. It was a distraction. It was a mistake. All of it. I raised an eyebrow. Mistakes are one-time things, I said. You made it a routine. She nodded. She couldn't even argue. I've started seeing someone, she blurted out. A therapist. Twice a week. I nodded, slow and measured. I want to fix this, she said. I want my family back. I tilted my head. You had your family, I said. You just didn't want it when it was right in front of you. Tears now. Real ones. I didn't know how bad it got until I saw that you could leave. Just walk away. I didn't walk, I said. I vanished. And I deserved it, she said, barely above a whisper. Yes, I replied. She reached into her coat pocket, pulled out a stack of papers. Proof, she said. Of everything. The messages. The calls. The deleted photos. I printed them. I wanted to be honest. Too late for honesty, I said. Now it's about accountability. She nodded, slowly. I'll do anything. I stepped outside, closed the door behind me. Now we were standing under the porch light, the rain still whispering around us. You want to be in their lives? I asked. She nodded. You'll start with structure. Visits. Supervised if I have to. You'll show up, on time, every time. No phones. No tears. Just presence. Yes, she said quickly. You'll continue therapy. Weekly. No skipping. No excuses. And if you miss one session, I pull back access until you've earned it again. I will. You don't get me, I said. That version of me, the one who forgave everything, made peace with silence, bent backwards to make you comfortable, he's gone. She blinked fast, tears cutting lines through her makeup. I'm not asking for you, she whispered. I just want to be their mom again. Then prove it, I said. I handed her a folded sheet of paper. It was a parenting schedule. Structured. Boundaried. Unmistakable. She took it in her shaky hands like it was a verdict. I'll stick to it, she said. Thank you. I didn't answer. Just stepped back inside. And locked the door. Peace doesn't make a sound. It doesn't kick the door down or scream from rooftops. It just walks into a room, settles in quietly, and makes you realize how long you've lived without it. The house is smaller now. Different zip code. One story. Fewer rooms. But it feels bigger in the ways that count. Laughter fills it again. Dinner conversations go longer. Eye contact doesn't feel like a battle. The kids are thriving. My son, once quiet and withdrawn, now cracks jokes that make me choke on my coffee. My daughter paints again. She hangs her drawings on the fridge and asks me what I think of each one. I always say, genius. She always smiles like she almost believes me. They don't ask about her much anymore. Not because they don't love her. Kids are wired to love, even when they shouldn't have to try so hard. But because they've learned the difference between presence and proximity. She visits every other weekend now. She's always early. Hair brushed, hands fidgeting, eyes scanning my face for approval she no longer receives. She sticks to the schedule. Therapy. She says she's still going. I don't ask for proof, I wait for results. I told her once, don't tell me what you're fixing. Show me what you've built. So far, she's building slowly. Carefully. Like a child with a broken toy. She smiles at the kids, tries too hard sometimes, but at least she's trying. And I don't interfere. I let her be their mother on her time. But I don't let her back in. Not to this house. Not to this piece. The first time she asked if we could talk, just the two of us, I said no. She blinked, stunned. Not even coffee. Not even a conversation. That's when she realized this wasn't a pause. This was the new chapter. Not punishment. Just the consequence of what she chose to ignore. Because the thing about walking away. You don't just leave someone else behind. You leave yourself behind, the weak version. The one that waited. That begged. That let silence answer questions that should have been screamed from rooftops. And you never go back to him. Ever. People ask if I've started dating again. I tell them I'm dating peace. I wake up, make coffee, sit on the porch while the sun stretches across the lawn. I go to the gym. I read books I forgot I owned. I laugh more than I used to. Not because life is perfect, but because I finally know what it's like to breathe without a weight on my chest. And when the kids hug me goodnight, they don't ask for bedtime stories about monsters. They know the scariest things aren't under their bed. They're the things we tolerate too long. The people we let forget us. She's trying, I'll give her that. She sends updates about therapy. Occasionally drops a hint in her texts, I still believe in us, or maybe someday, if we're both healed. I don't respond to those. Not out of spite. But because closure isn't something I owe her. I already gave her the most powerful thing a person can give. Absence. The silence she fed me for months. I turned it into distance she can't cross without earning every inch. This version of me. He doesn't beg. He doesn't chase. He doesn't wait by the phone hoping someone remembers how to love him. He builds his life. Brick by brick. Moment by moment. And if she ever finds her way back to someone's heart again, I hope it's hers. Because mine. It's full. Not of rage. Not of revenge. Just peace. And that's louder than anything she ever said.